Hello, welcome to the Social Work Department at Wright State University. We're located in 270 Millette Hall, and that's where we are right now. I'm in the student lounge. This is an area where our students come in between their classes. We have a library, set of books and journals from our profession that they can utilize. We also have pamphlets from many different agencies where students do volunteer work and also do their required 425-hour field practicum during their senior year. Also on the walls here are 4 different poster presentations. One is from one of our faculty members who presented her research at a national conference about working with women in rural areas who have been victims of domestic violence. We also have 2 posters from students who presented at a national conference in Cincinnati last year. One was interviewed persons in the Hispanic community, women specifically who had had violations of their rights. And then another group of students presented at the Ohio Gerontology Society Conference, where we send students every year. Well, the mission of the Social Work Department is to prepare students to be what we call generalist social work practitioners. At the undergraduate level, that means that our students are all trained to work across many different populations: older adults, children, work in the juvenile court system, work in the adult probation system. What's the nice thing about our program is that when students graduate from the program, they're eligible to take an exam with the State of Ohio Licensure Board and become a licensed social worker. That license allows them to take jobs that are only for social workers. We have an 82% pass rate for our students, which is higher than the national average, and we've had that pass rate for as long as I can remember. The other thing we have is a 93% job rate. That 93% of our students get jobs, and the main reason is because of having the license, having the internship that prepares them, and in many cases agencies hire our students because they've trained them in that capacity. We also, our students stay here in Ohio. One of our community partners is Care House. It's a child advocacy center here in the Dayton area. It's located across from Children's Hospital. There are now many advocacy centers across the country, but this was one of the first ones. At this center, they do investigations of sexual abuse, and they also provide counseling to children who have been sexually abused. The team consists of social workers, medical professionals, and police officers. And another component of what they do is education and to prevent child sexual abuse. So we have many community partners. We also have an advisory board we call the Professional Advisory Council. And that's approximately 10 people in addition to our faculty members. And we meet once a quarter, and the purpose of that group is to oversee every aspect of our program. These are social workers who are in large social work agencies such as Jobs and Family Services or St. Vincent de Paul. Our program literally cannot exist without them because they give us feedback about all aspects. At our fall PAC meeting, there were about 7 community members there, and then most of the faculty. And one of the questions that we talked about was what are different ways that the social work department has collaborated with the community. And there were several examples given from volunteering, and we have several service learning classes. For example, students go to Westwood School in Dayton and Seville School in Riverside, and they do tutoring after school. Also, every fall they participate in an Ohio Makes a Difference Day, and they go to the Kroger's in Fairborn, and they collect food and hygiene items. This past year I think they collected $30,000 worth of goods, and then they deliver that to the schools.
My name is Angel Zaponte, and this is the Social Work Club at Wright State. We are here today to raise hygiene products for Seville Elementary, which is an underprivileged school here in the Miami Valley, Greene County region. We are all Wright State students. In fact, in our human development class, we have a project where we have to go into this specific school, into Seville, and at Seville we are then recess mentors. There's another half of the student population in this class who's going to Westbrook, and they do tutoring. Those of us at Seville, though, doing the resource mentoring, these products are going for those kids at Seville. So all Wright State students here today pitching in for a good cause.
This is our 6th year being out here at Kroger, and we've gotten great support from Kroger and Two Men in a Truck sponsoring the event as well. But we enter every year into the Ohio Makes a Difference Day project, and the idea was actually thought up by students who had done it part of a high school assignment and said, why don't we do this for Ohio Makes a Difference Day? And a couple of years ago we were honored as one of the best top 10 projects in the state. So we have a history of being very successful out here and have put lots of food and hygiene supplies into our pantry system as well into local schools.
In the bags we're putting toothpaste, toothbrushes, combs, body wash, shampoo, those types of things. You know, some people say, oh, I don't want to be out soliciting, but we're having really hard economic times and everybody needs to be involved in giving back. Somebody said, why are you giving back in that community? That community is a well-to-do community. And I said, not necessarily so, because you have to think, in that community, most of the homeowners own their homes. So that means they may be older, maybe they get Social Security or some other type of supplemental income or a retirement check, and maybe they just don't make ends meet. So we can't assume that because what it appears to be may not be what it actually is. So you have to give back, and you can't be judgmental and say, oh, we don't want to give back to that community, or we want to keep it in our own community. We have to spread the wealth.
Wright State needs jobs. Our social work students, as I mentioned earlier, 93% of them will get employed in social work. Receiving the license in social work allows them to get those jobs. They're restricted to social workers. Those students will take jobs here in Ohio. Very few of our students move outside of Ohio. If they do, it's usually for graduate school. At the time of graduation, about 10% of our students go on to get a master's. Social work, you can have a career with a BSW. You do not have to go on to get a master's. We are starting a master's program here at Wright State with Miami University beginning fall of 2012, so that will mean even more jobs. There are many ways that the social work department mutually changes the community, because we're changed all the time by interaction with them. One of the biggest ways is through our internships. As I mentioned, we have about 40 seniors in a given year, and that number keeps increasing, who are in the field doing their internship. 93% of those students are going to get jobs, and they're going to get jobs here in the Miami Valley or the Ohio area. They, in many cases, will get jobs where they're doing their internship. I mentioned the University Partnership Program, where the students commit to working for an Ohio Public Child Welfare Agency, and it's one of 88 throughout the state. We've had students go all across the state, not just here locally, to take those jobs.
We're in a society where people just put their self aside to give to somebody else, and that's awesome. You know, we hear so much of the negative, but we don't hear that positive when you take your own sacrifice. And some of these people are on low income themselves, but they give to somebody else for a child that has something. I mean, you can't beat that. That's just awesome. You just can't beat it. What I would encourage is that other universities pick up what Wright State University has done and see the big difference throughout Ohio.
Our graduates are very successful, even in this very tough economy, at getting jobs. And I think it's through our very hands-on practical experience, both in their many observations that they do as part of classwork, including their service learning assignments, including one like today, and then their senior practicums, where they're working about 425 hours in the community. I think having hands-on experience is very appealing to employers and makes our graduates very easy to hire.
I think it's, for me, what got me interested in social work was that it wasn't just working with individuals, but also looking at the big picture and realizing to try to put a dent into poverty, for example, you have to look at the policies that create inequality. You know, why do some people have more than enough food and others don't? And I think that's what draws our students to this profession, is that they're aware of the policy issues, what we call macro issues. And if they're not when they get into the program, they have to be by the time they finish. And so that advocacy part's really important, to giving back, to being understanding how grants shape what social workers are able to do, and how students themselves can help influence policy to have better, more equitable policies. So I think that there's a lot of values of wanting to help others that people come into the profession, but then when they're here and they're in the classes and in the seeing other social workers, they realize that there are skills that can make a difference and make a bigger difference.